You're watching The Pulse on the Joy News channel. Hello there and welcome to the show. We are live on DSTV channel 421, Go TV channel 144. I'm Blessed Sogah. This afternoon on The Pulse, the fight against illegal mining has not been easy. The confession of President Kumadoe as he courts the support of the National House of Chiefs to put the fight back on track after a Joy News expose distraction for gold.
Not been easy. It has not been popular. And we have not got the immediate results that I was looking for. My stance on the issue cost my party and I significant losses in the mining community.
On illegal mining, shortly, emergency meeting of the Security Council is underway as officials in the Galamsey municipality seek solutions to the flooding situation in Salaja and its environs, which left homes, schools, clinics and other public places underwater and leaving hundreds displaced. We'll bring you details, plus get the latest from our reporters. And the internal race of the National Democratic Congress is heating up. This afternoon, we hear from a man seeking to replace the longest-serving General Secretary, Johnson Adesidu Nketia, who's vacating his post after 17 years of dedicated service. This afternoon, we have a sit-down conversation with Fivi Fiavi Kwete.
We also understand that a political party, you have what you call millions of people who are mobilized behind you. Our job at all moments is to continue to inspire them, is to continue letting them understand that this is a project known as Ghana, and our responsibility is to make sure that this project is a better project.
He tells us why he's the preferred and most suitable replacement for Johnson Adesidu Nketia. It's all coming up here on The Pulse. This is Joy News, independent, fearless and credible. Remember, as always, The Pulse is brought to you by Global Communities, Dignilu, Affordable Safe Sanitation. Remember that we are also streaming live on YouTube and on all of our social media handles. Is at Joy News on TV. I'm Blessed Sogah. Thanks for choosing us. We'll be back shortly with the details. Well, let's talk about Galamsey. The fight against illegal mining has not been easy. The president has been confessing to that this afternoon, as of course that's just coming days after the Joy News expose distraction for gold, which highlights the extent of degradation caused by illegal mining. Obviously, we know that work actually triggered a social media campaign with the hashtag No to Galamsey. In the early days of his administration, President Kumadoe indicated that he was not ready, he was ready actually to put his presidency on the line to win the fight against illegal mining.
I am prepared to put my presidency on the line on this matter. I've heard it being said that I should be careful. Many of these people voted for me, and if I continue this exercise, perhaps they'll not vote for me again. If by the grace of God I'm in a position, my party allows me to go again, and I have the health and everything to go again, that I'll not get it again. And I'll say to myself, well, this is a choice that all of us have to make as human beings. You do what you think is right, or do you do what you think will allow you to get along? I think that you do what you think is right. That is what you're required to do.
Well, the president has been speaking to that. He's been confessing that his approach towards fighting illegal mining hasn't yielded any positive results. He was speaking earlier today at the National House of Chiefs meeting in the Ashanti regional capital.
Even though for centuries we have been a mining nation, mining did not pose a threat to the health of our environment and water bodies. The rules that you put in place for mining ensure that the sanctity of our lands remained intact and our water bodies remained unpolluted. Tragically, in the modern era, that is no longer the case. And that is why I've come to you today to talk about how together we can repair this dramatic situation. Since I took office on 7th January 2017, nearly 6 years ago, I have made it a central feature of my presidency to lead in the efforts to rid our country of this madness, which we all now call Galamsey. Indeed, it was an important aspect of my inaugural address of that day. It has not been easy. It has not been popular. And we have not got the immediate results that I was looking for. My stance on the issue cost my party and I significant losses in the mining communities. It turned out that my statement that I was putting my presidency on the line in the fight against Galamsey was neither bombast nor recklessness. It was the simple truth. We have tried many initiatives, including that of the community mining scheme and the establishment of a new legal regime for dealing with the perpetrators of this phenomenon, which has imposed severe sanctions on those Ghanaians and foreigners convicted of illegal mining. Still, we have not won the fight.
Well, the president's statement is coming just days after our Hotline documentary, Destruction for Gold. For those of you who missed the content produced by Erastus Sari Donkor, here are excerpts for you.
On August 17th this year, the Minerals Commission, in a press release, stated that the Lands Minister has not issued any license for minerals prospecting in any forest reserve. The release, signed by Chief Executive Officer of the Commission, Martin Aisi, referred to a letter by Akonta Mining Limited dated August 8, 2022, which was an application for an entry permit to enter the Tanonimre Forest Reserve at Samreboy in the Western region. The release said the application must be processed, quote, subject to the Honorable Minister of Lands and Natural Resources Directive on Mining in Forest Reserve. But even before the Lands Ministry would indicate publicly its position on the application, our checks indicate active mining in the Tanonimre Forest Reserve. A visit to the forest revealed large portions of the reserve already mined and degraded. This drone footage, taken few days ago, shows active mining linked to Akonta Mining Limited under the protection of armed personnel. The forest reserve is being destroyed with impunity, even at the time of airing this report.
We are here at this thing, Tontokrom. They hold duties, and there are some policemen and media be here.
Despite Love News' expose on military personnel protecting miners in the Odaho section of the Apamprama Forest Reserve, security personnel are still providing protection for miners who are pillaging the reserve currently, as corroborated by the Mentiahene of Bekwai, Nana Kusi Frimpong Kotobre.
My district is Amansett Central. That is where I have my cocoa farm. In that area, there's a forest called Kobo Forest. The forest is guarded by soldiers as people mine inside the forest. I had a confrontation with the soldiers. They said they are on duty. What kind of duty is being held in the forest? Ministers and people in government are the ones protecting them. Because I can't hire military men, if I could, I would ask them to accompany me to the farm to weed.
Daryl Bosu is Deputy Director at Rocha, Ghana, and of course Richard Kumadoe is a security consultant. Awula is Coordinator for the Eco-Conscious Citizens, joining us to have an extensive conversation on the President's remarks today. Let me welcome you, gentlemen and lady, to the polls. Let me start off with you, Richard Kumadoe. Of course, this board is on national security. We'll get to the issues of conservation shortly. But listening to the President, do you feel that he's addressed the agitations, most especially in the Ashanti region and across the country, and numerous people on social media as well who have been making that call to action with the hashtag no to Galamsey, at least asking for authorities to deal with this problem of illegal mining? What do you sense from the President, having listened to his speech there? Richard Kumadoe, you'd have to unmute, but what do you make of the President's statement today, and as to whether or not it's addressed all of the issues? Well, we'll get to Richard shortly. Let's bring in Daryl Bosu as well. Daryl, a number of issues the President has talked about. The fact that he's even calling for a national dialogue to deal with issues of Galamsey on a bipartisan approach. We've heard this countless times. What's new for you in what it is that we've heard from the President today?
Good afternoon, Blessed, and thank you for having me. And I must say that I struggle to really get any new action point from what the President said. Listening to what the President was saying, I mean, it takes us back to 2017, most of it, and during his investiture where he committed to addressing the menace of Galamsey. And then, I mean, we started some action in 2018, there was a ban. So frankly, I'm struggling, unless maybe coming from the closed door meetings, we are going to see some more pragmatic action to address these menace. But until then, I didn't really get anything new. There are a few points I want to pick on eventually as discussions continue. But there's nothing new for us here.
The President starts off by saying, well, I placed my presidency on the line for this. I've not backtracked on that. I'm still standing by those words, except to say that my approach has not been effective. Basically, my understanding of what it is that the President is trying to tell us. So it appears that he has that intent of fighting illegal mining, right?
I think what we are getting from the President is his admission that the fight against Galamsey has failed. But what I do not get clear also is the fact that the government is willing to really listen. I mean, I've been saying that the government goes around talking about collaboration, working with all stakeholders and all of that. But if you go to the ground in terms of the action eventually deployed to address the Galamsey, it is always unilateral, just operating at the level of the presidency and at the ministry, with no or little involvement of other stakeholders. I mean, I'm saying this because if you look at many of the recommendations that came out of the last year's National Small-Scale Mining Dialogues, which were organized across the country in all the regions, where we had traditional authorities in attendance with also sector players all featuring, there were several recommendations. A lot of them were mentioned. There were several observations of the same issues you talked about today, the lack of participation and involvement of traditional authorities, action to deal with politically exposed persons. All of these things were mentioned. And also another point that was raised was the fact that there was a need for government to ensure that the polluters and those who are messing up the environment actually pay for the damage. These are things that should be integrated into the regulation to ensure that not everybody gets up and says, I'm going to do mining. But all of this we have not seen being implemented. Again, we have seen a clear point where the President himself is also talking about the fact that let's ensure non-partisan approach to also deal with Galamsey. But if you look at the current issues we are faced with, some of the involvement of the DCs and all of that, as in the case of Elembele and all of that, and even recently, in the case of Akonta mine, it takes only somebody with a political cover to have that audacity to do what they are doing in a forest reserve in the country. So for me, I feel it is just going over the same issues over and over again, but really nothing new for all of us to take home. And that's why I'm saying that I am curious to see the actions they are going to come out with after the closed door meetings. Until then, I don't see anything strong here for all of us to rally behind for the action that is needed to deal with Galamsey. We need to see a much, much stronger action, and the government should be very clear. I think the process should also be very transparent for all of us to know what is happening, what commitment he's demanding of the chiefs and also of the MMDCs, so we can all rally behind them and take them on if they fail to act appropriately. But to take the discussion behind closed doors is not in the interest of all of us if you are really calling for collaboration.
Let's bring in Richard Kumadoe. Daryl, just be on with us as well, because he's coming from a security background. This issue borders definitely on national security. Richard, you've listened to the president, and there are scores of Ghanaians on social media joining our hashtag No to Galamsey and making that passionate appeal to authorities to begin to act now. But I mean, listening to the president, do you see any reassurance that indeed help is underway and that we're closer to ending this fight against illegal mining from a security point of view?
Considering the nature of Galamsey and the damage it has on the economic security of this country, it poses a national security threat to a large extent. To that extent, you expect leadership, and leadership must come from the president, who is the head and the commander-in-chief of the Ghana Armed Forces. Many reports have come from Joy and from many media stations of military people involvement in Galamsey providing cover or directly being involved. I don't see that one coming from the president, and that is where my disappointment is.
What could this trigger? Because this is the same president who says, I put my presidency on the line for this. Now he's calling for active participation in this. And he's also calling for a departure from the usual political rhetoric on this. Do you see him bringing the nation together? Are we enforcing cohesion going into this fight in the first place?
I think he's struggling, and that is why he went playing politics again. They have been to Ashanti many times. You remember when they even wrote a speech for Ashanti to read and he declined. I think what he should have said is that we've gotten the approach wrong. Let's revise our standards and let's go in and get the reserves back to where they are. The complexities of political actors and government actors in that matter do not really matter when you have law enforcement officers waiting to hear the commander-in-chief of the Ghana Armed Forces give the green light. You see, when it comes to fraud prevention, which I am an expert, and when it comes to security operations, you need authority, you need leadership, and you need an instructive communication from the leader. And that is what we are expecting from our president. Once again, the president failed to deliver on that note. And I think it's unfortunate, but we can still do something about it better.
The National House of Chiefs is obviously the first phase of the approach the president is adopting post this new era, where of course he's scaling up the fight against illegal mining. Next will be the MMDCEs, and when it comes to statecraft, obviously the municipal chief executives and district chief executives obviously count and matter when it comes to the municipal and district security councils. Do you feel that this should be a time where the president will tell the MCs in the face that, well, you failed me, and so there should be a cost to it if you don't scale up the fight against illegal mining?
Blessed, it will be interesting to know that when it comes to this issue of fighting Galamsey, from security intelligence point of view, there are three things involved. Let me remind listeners. When you talk about fight, there are three things involved. You must ask yourself, who are you fighting? What are you fighting for? And in whose interest? The president must answer these questions. And these are the answers the military in particular are waiting for. Then again, when it comes to the chiefs, the president who represents the state is holding the land and the mineral in trust of the people. To that extent, every decision the president or the Mineral Commission, which is a state agency, takes on behalf of the people, the chiefs must be involved. If you listen to Ashanti carefully, he said the chiefs can't do anything because People come to say to them, we have concession, we have license to go and mine, and the chiefs is left handicapped. To the extent that there are some few chiefs who want to give up their land, we can understand that.
And in
but
fact,
majority of these decisions comes from state agencies where the president is the head.
And Richard, that's where I want to bring in Daryl Bosu. Daryl, the point that the president made about the political cost. He says that in the last election, he's had to pay the price for cracking down on illegal mining. So, well, it's a reality as to whether or not we like it, that the political class will indeed have some hesitations scaling up the fight against illegal mining because it feeds into the local economies, and you don't want to get unpopular when it comes to the grassroots.
Well, I think the president might probably not be understanding what he's saying, that he's putting his president on the line really meant, because it's for me, the way I see it is that it means that if we don't succeed with this fight, I step down. And this is something that we're saying, because whether you like it or not, it is very hard to determine whether the elections went the way it was because of the fight against Galamsey. We should all bear in mind that Ghanaians were already actively taking action against Galamsey before the president took office, even in 2017. We should not pretend that it all started when he took office. So this thing has been on for a long time. The media have been taking very serious action on this. Civil society has been working. So I wouldn't agree that it's because of the fight against Galamsey. That's how come he had very low, I would say, votes in 2020. So I think let's move forward. Now, going forward, he is now the president of the country. He didn't lose the election. He won the election. This is where he needs to show leadership and take us forward to addressing the issue. We can't brood over an election that went his way anyway. I wanted to see him say that, okay, because I failed, or because I want to make sure this is dealt with, all appointees who are responsible or who are superintending over Galamsey in their jurisdictions, I'm going to fire them, or I'm going to sack them. This is really taking action and putting the presidency on the line, and not talking about an election that he won anyway. So for me, I don't see this case neither here nor there.
But the inclusion, you need that, especially from the political class, and you can't do without them. So when the president brings in the aspect of the political cost, it's not as though you're being flippant about it. You need to be realistic here. And that's where, of course, many blame you in the civil society for pushing and urging the political class on, knowing that there will be definitely a severe cost they will pay at the ballot box.
Yeah, but that is what we mean by I'm going to put my presidency on the line. You need to take actions that are not going to be palatable to people, but because it's in the interest of all Ghanaians, take those actions. Now, if you look at Galamsey, our water bodies are affected, our farmlands are affected, cocoa, which is an important foreign exchange earner, is also affected. So we are sacrificing all of these for the interest of a few actors just because of election vote. And I think that that is very something that we should not be considering at all. I think we need to put the interest of the state, make that paramount, and that should guide every action that we take. So has the president taken steps to make sure that his presidency is actually on the line? No. I've not seen any action the president has taken that will let people say that because you did this, we are not voting for you again. That has never happened. So for me, I don't see the point he's raising. What we need the government, the presidency to do is rather, I think the point he raised about non-partisan approach to deal with the Galamsey, where we need to see the government take very stringent action without fear or favor against persons in his political party who are also engaged in Galamsey. That is where we then trust him by saying that he's put his presidency on the line. Otherwise, just referring to the elections and we still having Galamsey to deal with it, even when he won the election, is not a good case to make for putting my presidency on the line.
In fact, there's one issue I want to ask all of you. I'll start off with Awula Sewa, who's coordinator for the Eco-Conscious Citizens, also joining this discussion. Awula, the platform the president chose, this is the National House of Chiefs. So the belief is that you have a group of traditional leaders who also have a role to play in the fight against illegal mining. And yet we're all silent about chiefs. At least the last time the criticism came up, the chiefs then point the accusing fingers at the political class. I mean, are the chiefs entirely absolved from any form of blame in this whole conversation regarding the fight against illegal mining? You'd have to, yes, I can hear you now, right?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, loud and clear.
Yeah, good afternoon. I have to say that I'm a little confused as to what is going on. It's not a key to effect arrest. If we want to show that we are serious about that we say, we need to start holding people responsible. We've been told about a company which has destroyed so much of the forest reserve. Has anybody been prosecuted? It's not a key to our going to do this. So I think we need to show that there's a clear and present danger. We are aware of it, and we are taking serious action. We should start by prosecuting those who are breaking the law. It doesn't matter who they are, whether they are associated with the party or not. And that will show us all that the presidency has been put on the line, and that we are serious about combating illegal mining. And also the legal mining. The fact that somebody has a license doesn't mean that they are doing what they should be doing.
Yes, but I'm specific about the chiefs and what role practical and they could be playing right now. They say that when it comes to, giving out the lands, the leases, and all forms of documentation, it's all done at the center in Accra. So you only show us proof that indeed you have the clearance to come into our lands. And beyond that, the chief would not have any other political will or might to fight that.
But the chief can be a bit of a red herring. Whether or not you know about, whether or not somebody has a legal right to be there, nobody has a right to destroy the environment. So yes, the chief can use the authority to get the people who are destroying the land to be removed. But they can't go as far as the state machinery can go. You know the access. You know who are destroying the environment. Whether or not the chiefs are playing their role, it doesn't stop you from playing your role. I'm a little confused about this situation.
So what you're seeking to say is that all of the attention should be on the politicians?
No, I'm saying everybody has a role to play. The Minerals Commission has a role to play. The Forestry Commission has a role to play. The persons in the area have a role to play. The chiefs have a role to play. But currently, there's a clear and present danger. We are aware of the access. Arrest those who are breaking the law and prosecute them and let the law apply. Those who send a message that we are not just interested in consultations and conversations, but we are interested in dealing with the problem. We heard about a company that has destroyed the environment. Whether the chief would have done something or not is neither here nor there. They have done this. What action is being taken? There was another case where somebody closely connected to the ruling party had an excavator burn. But was anybody arrested and prosecuted? Unless we start prosecuting those involved, the seriousness will not be seen.
Richard, what's your take on the issue about the chiefs? Richard Kumadoe, if you're with us, I'm just asking about your take on the issue about the chiefs.
No, I'm saying that the chiefs are key actors in this particular case because they are the custodians of the land. But let me be quickly to say that the president and the actors who work around the president have not acted, and they are not acting in the greater interest of the state. And to that extent, the national security issues such as Galamsey, we are playing politics with it. We never meant to stop it. We never meant to prevent it. All it takes is to hold workshops and to talk about it. Because from what Madam Awula is saying, ask yourself, non-punishable offenses rationalizes bad behavior. And we know those who are involved in Galamsey. We don't need a soothsayer, a prophet to tell us. Let's wake up and do something about it because it's a major security threat to our nation.
How do we incorporate not just the chiefs, but all of the actors into this to bring some momentum onto this whole movement against illegal mining?
I agree largely with what Madam Awula said. The president must act. The law courts must act. You remember the Minerals Act, the president on the 19th of August changed it to, amended the act to 995. If you look at the punitive actions and the punishment, the prosecuting rules of the Mineral Commission and all those involved, we have a beautiful act on our hands. Once we refuse to punish people because we prefer politics to governance, and we use the monies from Galamsey to finance political party activities, we'll be doing a window dressing. And President, I can tell you and I can bet my life on it. That is where the action is. And that is why the politicians don't want to fight it. And they are deceiving everybody by many of these workshops.
Daryl, for you, the chiefs, do they really matter?
Yes, they do. The chiefs do matter a lot. I mean, I recall when government wanted to pass this community mining, there were several prominent chiefs across the country who said no. The government still went ahead and passed the framework for community mining. And so if the government says they want collaboration, they should really indeed ensure that they listen to what people are saying. As per the regime for getting mining licenses and concessions, you, of course, start your process at the Minerals Commission. You are even required to go to the ground and seek consent. That's usually done through an EIA process. And many times where communities even resist and decide that they do not want it, I've seen instances where the police have been used to force some of these activities on them. The case of community mining, several communities in the eastern region rejected it, but they were forced eventually to take the community mining. So the question is the government really serious about working with stakeholders to address these issues? So it's one thing saying the chiefs have power and authority, but not respecting that power and authority. And we need to see the government really do that. Otherwise, it's just a matter of just calling them to waste their time, and then we don't see any challenge. And also, the government will go and do what they say they will do anyway. And so we don't see any reaction happening eventually, which is unfortunate.
Subsequently, the president will be meeting the MMDCEs. They play a crucial role, do you agree?
Oh, they do, because they are in charge of various decentralized districts across the country. They also sit as chairpersons for the district security committees that are there. And if anything will happen in a district, these people do not miss it. So if these people are the leaders at the decentralized level and they are sitting while these things happen, then they really have a bigger responsibility to ensure that Galamsey is addressed at their level. If we can start addressing Galamsey at the decentralized level, it reflects eventually on a success at the national level. So if we get it wrong at the decentralized level, we are never going to be successful. So I'm keen to hear the commitment and the charge the president is going to put before these MMDCEs, because I think there should be an accounting for all the work that they are doing so far, so that if you have mind, I think there was even a time where it was indicated by the presidency that it's going to be a requirement that every DCE should have an outcome to get Galamsey out of the various districts and assemblies. But we have not seen that happen, or we've not seen the government try to implement that principle, or I should say that rule they wanted to enforce some years back. So I want to see what comes out of this meeting and what will be new this time.
Finally, for you, Awula, where do we go from there?
As has been said, is there really the will to put an end to Galamsey? I think not. We have had endless meetings upon meetings. For heaven's sake, we know who the players are. Let's deal with them. Let's see some high-profile prosecutions and send a clear message that we want to end Galamsey. We don't care who is involved. That is what putting your presidency on the line is about. Otherwise, it's like an acting deception. I'm sorry to use those words. We are not convinced that there's any serious attempt to end Galamsey. And we are all being slowly poisoned and our environment destroyed.
Anyway, thank you all for your time. I will ask our coordinator for Eco-Conscious Citizens, Daryl. Bosu is Deputy Director at Rocha, and we also do have Richard Kumadoe is a security consultant joining us on this conversation. Thank you all for your time. Let's stay on the National House of Chiefs because the traditional authorities say they are fully associating themselves with concerns that the Russia-Ukraine war